Well met, lords and ladies, Jacob Penwell speaking, and a warm welcome to this week's Walking Wednesday. Sorry if I sound a little hoarse today. I've woke up with a dry throat that I've had in quite some time. Couldn't actually speak for a little bit, but of course the show must go on, so here we are. And in fact, I've taken a little bit of a more interesting route than usual. I was trying to make my way over to Tilgate, but I might have actually jumped the river a bit too soon. And yes, I did have to actually jump a river to get here. You want to see the river? There it is. There it is right there. Okay, not gonna lie, while doing that, I thought I was, I realised how precarious the phone was in the inside of the tripod, but oh well. Yeah, if I just carry along this way, along the river, should be fine. Not tempted by that swing at all. No, of course not. But yeah, what a week it has been. And if people weren't quite aware, I might have mentioned that I was feeling sick during the last... Oh wait, no, I did. I mentioned it because that's why I wasn't in Crawley. Because I was sick. So of course I mentioned it during the last Walking Wednesday. Yeah, so that kind of carried on. It's ebbed and flowed a bit. Some days I end up being way better and then immediately end up becoming much worse. And it just kind of keeps cycling like that, really. There was one particular day, the 13th in fact, very telling, where I just flat out was not. There's a bridge there. Could have taken that, but well. Well, I just flat out could not think about anything. I was just staring there at a almost blank Google Doc for ages. Just not being able to do much at all. So that's why I haven't seen any Gacha Plus updates. Which, yeah, I should mention that. There was a particular game that was anticipated for ages. The next in a long saga by the name of... Well, that came out on February the 10th. By the name of Gacha Plus Hogwarts Legacy. Yes, Hogwarts Legacy was also out, and I almost ran out of storage with which to actually make any sort of progress in it. So I had to turn down every graphical enhancement, put the lowest resolution window mode and all that stuff, and that took 2 streams to do. The character creation screen worked just fine, which means that we'll eventually start streaming with Goldilocks, as was established. Yeah, but unfortunately, I ended up wasting 2 hours of people's time, or possibly 2.5. Alright, I've made it into Tilgate. Haven't ever taken that particular route, at least not all the way through, but here we are. Lakeside Cafe on the side of the lake. In the sun. I'm not actually using my coat for the first time in ages. And I've also donned the Zane hoodie. So, yeah, okay, so, but despite all of that stuff, and really thanks to BB, who should get a huge shout out here, we've actually exceeded the target for the Trevor Project, which was the charity that I chose for that particular stream because, well, it's a charity all about helping people in the LGBTQ+ community. Sorry, there was somebody who looking at me but was too tiny to be in frame, so I just waved to the side. Yeah, so yeah, I chose that particular one because of course there's lots of concerns about, buying the new game and, supporting J.K. Rowling and everything, even though I'm fairly certain that J.K. Rowling was already paid a flat license fee to develop the game in the first place. Because all of the terms and services all talked about like how the game is owned by WB Games and Portkey Games and, you know, all that stuff. So really it just never really came up. But yeah, but either way, the game ended up costing about 50 quid, which then translated over to $60 in, you know, wonderful American money. And so that was the projected goal to make, was $60. In fact, it was actually $59.99 if you paid when you're from the US, which of course means that if the idea was we gave exactly 1 extra cent to helping the LGBTQ plus community versus, you know, supporting a transphobe. Again, assuming that she actually got the entire percentage of that, which obviously is not the case, but you know what I mean. Just easy to do it that way. And then BB just donates $100 off the bat. So we've achieved our target, and I haven't even played through any of the game yet. So yeah, we will be doing more of those. So, you know, you don't have to donate hundreds like BB has done, but even if you just donate like $1 or something like that, that's, at this point, that's more than enough. So there you go. It's perfect. That wasn't even during the stream, I was just using the fundraiser link. Which honestly, now that I got a chance to talk about this, let's talk about like the YouTube giving feature. Because I knew that you could actually make fundraisers on YouTube itself and have people, you know, donate on there. What I didn't know is that was actually a privilege reserved for those over 10,000 subscribers. AKA, not me. So that's why I was really pleased that Restream, literally the day before I wanted to do the charity live stream, introduced QR codes. I also put a link in the description if anyone also wants to check there. But the options have been there ever since. So if you scan the QR code on any of those live streams, you should be able to donate. And that's the end of the sentence, really. There's not really much else to say there. So yeah, I worked around it eventually, but it is very strange that YouTube would restrict the idea of donating to under any circumstances. Surely anyone should be able to make a charity live stream with YouTube's features, if they so desired. But oh well, it wasn't too difficult to work around. Again, compared to clearing out the storage of my computer and having the 72 gigabyte files actually go in, and then trying to make the game actually run without crashing, and then having to install an entire different plugin to actually make sure that it wouldn't actually do that upon launching of the actual game itself rather than the menu. Compared to all those things, the setting up for the charity part was pretty easy. So yeah, all fine. That worked out as intended at least. So thank you particularly to BB, and thank you to those who actually have been patient and have been waiting for me to actually get through to actually showing off Hogwarts Legacy. I shall do so very shortly. I don't know when exactly, because yeah, I don't know. I don't think I'll do it tonight. I'm not really feeling up for a super long stream, considering the one from yesterday, and also the fact that. But then again, I also might do my tradition, where I stream myself turning a year older. So yeah, people don't know. Tomorrow is my birthday, so. And what I tend to do on YouTube is I've had this thing where it's like, oh yeah, turning 19 on live stream or turning whatever. So depending on how I'm feeling, I might actually be streaming a little, maybe like an hour later than I usually do. I tend to go past midnight anyway, so it really depends. Maybe I'll just bring back the Lily Trescott reactions, which, yeah, that was the thing that happened, which I will address in due time, because there's other stuff that happened this week that have been brought up several times that I should also get through. But I'm on a roll for right now, so let's talk about Gacha Plus, which also came out on February 10th, and also ended up being spoiled by me a day later. So that really, it was kind of what I expected to begin with. If you don't know, Gacha Plus is one of many mods of Gacha Club, but this one is unique in the sense that I don't take away any of the old assets, and they're also going to procedurally be updating it every 2 weeks. So Beowulf, Femlol Studio, and sorry, I can't think of it right now. Gacha Emika, yes, that was who. So yeah, all those three are going to be, I guess, working on that in perpetuity. So there you go. Would not have expected that, but I'm not disappointed. So we'll see. And I still have to make the video where I suggest like what stuff to actually include. But I did want to do an in-depth exploration. Aiden also did his own in-depth exploration, but his was more recorded. Mine was just reacting in situ to pretty much everything. I've also found out that I can now play the Gacha Club PC battle mode without having to use BlueStacks emulator, which is another thing that I need to do. Which, yeah, I should point out that one of the best things about this is the fact that all of the mobile assets are now on PC mode, and that there is also a PC mode of this app, of this mod that's going to everyone. So I've said this before, I think this mod is going to take Gacha by storm. And Aiden and I are still debating amongst ourselves whether or not we should actually transfer our content onto this new app. But another concern of mine actually emerged after this, because I've realized that we've been waiting for an official Lunime Games edition, you know, a new Gacha game, for quite a while now. Gacha Club has probably had one of the longest runs as the most recent Gacha game out of all of them. Gacha Life came out at the tail end of 2018. Gacha Club came out mid-2020. So, and we're now in 2023. So, yeah, all things considered, I think actually this one is this one really Gacha Club has had its run, but now, of course, because everyone has encountered all the issues and has endured them for quite a while, it's time for a change, which might be the thesis statement, so to speak, of the actual of Femlol Studio, Gacha Emika, and Beowulf. I don't quite know, but I believe so. Hold on. There we go. Incoming scooter, so just making sure. Okay. Yeah, it's half term, so everyone is no clue what's going on there. Just not going to question it, you know. Let's keep going. Let's take a detour. So yeah, that might be the statement for those three. You know, make something that will be procedurally updated and listen to the fans, because if you're going to make the mod, don't just, you know, make the mod and put it out there and everything. Actually continue to update it, which is what we wanted the official company to do this whole time. So my concern, I guess, now is the fact that if Lunime sees that's what's going to happen, they're just going to get complacent and just never update the game. However, I guess it might then become an issue if, you know, people stop supporting Gacha Club itself, and then moving on. But then again, the other thing is that Gacha Life still, to this day, has people that never upgraded and continue to use it. Partly because I'm pretty sure you're still able to, you know, make mildly shirtless characters, which to some people is an unfortunate appeal. But also, probably because it might be construed as a bit more user-friendly. And what I mean by that is, Gacha Club introduced a lot of new features immediately. And it also has a much more complex customization system, which is great because it allows for more creativity. People have, you must have seen over the past 3 years that the art style of Gacha has changed, even if some people like myself have stayed kind of close to the original. I may stay close to the original really because I was doing the same show and therefore didn't really have much of a chance to update. But nowadays that's no longer an issue. So yeah. But people have taken that in all these new directions, which is what you want. But others have just pushed back and stayed within the comforts of Gacha life. Back in the days where the community wasn't as complicated and, the artistic side hadn't quite taken over from the storytelling side, at least not as much anyway. Excuse me for a second. It's another river to cross. There's another fence to go underneath. And also lots of other people in the way, so I'm going to go this way. I'm trying to stay in the sun because I want to actually absorb it before it leaves, but oh well, I tried. See, I do wonder. That's one issue that Gacha Plus might run into. If it continues to update and has, I don't know, new mechanics or new assets that go on forever and ever and ever, will there eventually become a point where it just gets too confusing and people just decide to drop it? I don't know yet, but for right now, the impact, I'm fairly certain, is going to be noticed. I haven't seen too many new Gacha Plus projects, even though some that came out on the first day. That was part of the stream I did. But yeah, I'm working on one myself. That was the page that I was staring at blankly on the 13th that I couldn't adapt. I thought I would try starting off with a brand new show that originates in Gacha Plus itself, because that way the mutant girl isn't the one that I'm relying on for that, because that work as the next project, so of course they're halfway through production, so there won't be pure Gacha Plus anything. That goes for techno pops and all the other things I've been working on in the meantime. So yeah, expect a new show to emerge at some point, and I might do a stream later today just showcasing that, really, and making some more designs for it, and rather than just exploring around and having a bit of a directionless stream for Gacha review. So there's that. What else has also happened this week? Well, after recovering, I was pleasantly surprised by another Valentine's Day delivery from Monet, which I'm pretty sure was bought from the same store as last year, because of it's addressed to a place in Liverpool. Well, just former place in Liverpool, really. But yeah, it reached me, and clearly, when the method worked, it worked. I mention this only because mine didn't. I tried to vary it up. I tried to go to a different site that actually had a proper site rather than just a Facebook page to deliver to her, which is an issue that I've had. I wasn't really in a headspace to make phone calls for just to deliver to these particular stores, because these stores that are local don't actually imagine people are going to be buying internationally. That's what I found. So yeah, I tried that, And then it turns out the delivery page just deleted the order, I guess after it was supposedly delivered. But by that point, Monet wasn't there anymore. So I'm going to see if that's come through today, and if not, I'm going to give him a call and see what's going on there, and possibly order something else. So sorry to you, Monet. I was not expecting that to actually happen, because it seemed to go relatively well, considering that they actually got the addresses and everything in proper order, despite the fact they have city codes delivering to a place that doesn't really do those properly. I don't know. It's weird. Last thing for now. I'm going to address this probably here. I'm going to get asked this again, because every single stream that I have done since this incident has happened this has been brought up. So people might remember someone by the name of Jax Penwell, who has appeared multiple times, featured in some of my streams for Gacha Review, but also I feature some of his content on the reviews themselves. So I'm just going to get away from the road, because that's going to distract. So yeah, Jax, I just realized, look at this. I've reached the limit of the lake. Okay, so yeah, I started watching some stuff by the Gacha Shipper, who has quite an active fan base at this point. And yeah, it was it started off all right. Eventually, the content itself became far more traumatizing and hard to stomach and sit through as we went along. But either way, we still powered through, and I think in either the first or second stream, Jax was there. As a fan of the Gacha Shipper, he was offering some contributions, which, unlike the ones that Josh offered, were very easily verifiable as the truth, which I deeply appreciated the contrast there. And yeah, eventually, because my Discord is public, so I just said, I think he was mentioning they want to speak with me or something. Oh no, that was later. So because he seemed to be very engaged with that, I actually checked out his channel. Turns out that he had quite a few other series, and I decided, okay, this is interesting. You know, he was asking like what my next review was going to be and other stuff. I was like, you know what, I'm going to surprise this guy. I'm going to feature his own content. And that can go one of two ways, usually. Sometimes I do worry that people might be a bit too embarrassed if I, feature them on Gacha Review. And obviously, if I just wait around and ask everyone, oh, can I review this, that, and the other, they're probably not going to respond. Especially the ones with a massive fan base who get a bunch of contacts over and over. And that's when I had no Jax contacts. So yeah, I took the risk, and it turns out he enjoyed it. In fact, he enjoyed it so much that he actually wanted to come in and discuss the show while we were talking about it. At which point we also actually but actually I think at some point we also met his mum in the chat. I forget what order these things happened in. And yeah, she was saying, how impressive she thought it was. I, of course, was, being honest about the faults that I saw, but at the same time, I always try and be fair and balanced, so I point out the positives whenever I see them. And overall, it seems to go well. And Jax and I exchanged Discord information, and he asked me when the next review is going to be. And I was like, okay, well, or next review of his content, rather. And I was like, well, I've got a list, but I'll get through some of those, and then I'll let you know. Thinking that was going to be it. That was going to be fine. But then, it starts being the case that every other day or so, he would say, you know, when are you going to react to Kidnapped by Giants next? That's this series, or one of his series. Or what's the next review? Implying, of course, what's the next review, so get through that one, and then the next one, so then I can come back again. So, and that just kept on happening. And because of the actual the movable nature of the list that I have, it's more of like a list of things that I'm going to feature, but not the order I'm going to feature them in, which I explained it to him multiple times, but you'll see this as a trend. Jax, for some reason, just does not remember the stuff that I explicitly tell him, and he only really hears what he wants to hear in the moment. So, and even when he hears that, even when I said to him, "Oh, Kidnapped by Giants can be the next one, and I'll do that in this many days," even then he would still say to me, "Oh, are you going to do this in X many days, and then X minus 1 days, and then X minus 2 days," and just keep going at that every single day, despite the fact that I had already said to him that that was what was going to happen. And unless something changes, sometimes when something would change, then I would, of course, reply and say, "Oh, well, this has come up now. This is kind of like an event that's happened." I think Gacha Emeka actually got in the way at one point, because the rabbit's foot was suggested, and I was like, "Oh, well, this seems like it's going to go places." I think also Unbounded by Not Zoe had the exact same thing happen. So I was like, okay, I can't miss the hype that those are going to cause, which means I'm going to move the already unofficial list around. Now, he was somewhat fine with this, but then, of course, he went, "Okay, but then after that, we're going to do this one." It's like, I just said that. I just keep going like that every single day, almost. So, eventually, I just stopped answering him altogether. So, if he would ask me a question that I'd already told him the answer for, I just would not reply. I would say nothing. And then he would, of course, ask me the next day. I would still say nothing and just keep going like that until eventually I would, you know, post that would stream on schedule, and he would show up. What are the odds of that happening? So that happened a few times, and then he a lot of the time would want to be invited to the stream, in which case I say, yeah, sure, because you know everyone does that spontaneously anyway. That's kind of how it works. If you want to feature on episode of 5 years later or on Gacha Review or something, then usually people are just like, "Oh, let me into this," and then I'll be like, "Okay, sure, here you go." Sometimes I have guests planned. Depends on like what I've said or what the episode's going to feature or stuff like that. Availability. But yeah, in general, that's how it goes. So yeah, I would invite him, and I would, you know, hopefully ask him a few questions about what's going on, and he would just say pretty much nothing. In fact, he would actually want to appear on a lot of other streams for other people, in which he would say something. He would say what his next video was going to be. At which point, that's when the alarm bells start going off in my head. Because he only seems to care whenever I post about his content, and when I'm not doing that and he wants to be invited, he only ever said a few sentences about like what he was doing. In fact, we'd be in the middle of a conversation at some point, you know, just having a bit of a laugh and like a building exchange, and everyone, you know, it's all fun, entertaining. We're all having a good time, and then suddenly he, with no segue whatsoever, will be like, "So I just posted a new video yesterday, and then it's called this, that, and the other. So yeah, in case anyone's interested." And they would go back to something else. And here's the thing, I don't mind people doing self-promos on my streams. Honestly, part of the reason that I featured Jax's content in the first place was to promote him. But the thing is, all of the guests that come on and talk about their stuff, or people in the chat who mention that they've made videos and everything, they still engage with the other content. They still enjoy the time. They still listen to the stuff I have to say. I listen to them, and they basically, they give something back. Jax didn't give anything back. He just took. That's all he did. I try to feature him on as an act of kindness, and I feel somewhat dirty saying that, like trying to be like, oh, this is what I did, and this is, look at me, this is, I did something nice for somebody, and blah, blah, blah. But the reason I bring it up is because, yeah, I don't mind if it doesn't get addressed or something, but what I don't like is when it's spat back in my face. When somebody deliberately takes the act of kindness that I've done, and that I continue to do, and then spins it to just take advantage of the situation. That's what I don't like. And particularly whenever Jax, even when we didn't let him in certain streams to do that, when during It's a Nightwolf Life one time, when Emily was already going through getting embarrassed by a bunch of people who are close to her, Jax came along and wanted to feature himself, but Emily wasn't comfortable. I knew that she was already going to be embarrassed enough during the stream. That was kind of the whole point. But there's a difference between being embarrassed by your friends and embarrassed by somebody who you just barely know from online. It's parasocial. So we said no. And then he constantly had a hissy fit about it. And 2 of his accounts got banned by my moderators. In fact, another shout out to BB actually, who went through that and actually dealt with those accounts and the spam. But yeah, even after that, he had 1 account left, so he kept using that for a bit. And then the one time that was the straw that broke the camel's back, which was when he decided to come on to one of my streams again, talking about his content. He knew the day. I always stream at roughly the same time. And yet, when he showed up, he wanted me to go back and watch it all over again. And by this point, that is the ultimate no-no. It's bad enough that you take the already stretched for entertainment stuff that I do, and then and that could potentially be boring, and make it more boring by then having me go back and watch it a second time with nothing new being added. I know that my streams overrun. I know that I stretched out the content, but I try to at least make it content of value. Okay, once again, I freed up some more space. It's just going to go on forever now. Again, I've got to address this now before it comes back and just keeps going. So where do we get to? Oh yes, the fact that when Jax decides to just decides to ask me again, and then the next few days was like, what have I done wrong? Give me another chance and stuff. And then of course I just, say, on Discord you can reply to your old messages to show a person, and then it can click up and go and read the thing. So he reads that a few times and keeps forgetting. Again, running theme. Jax forgets what he doesn't want to hear. That's too bad because he doesn't get to control that. So I then continue. And to, he then tries to do a pity act again. Just be like, oh, well, should I just delete my channel or something? It's like, this has very little to do with your channel. It has to do with how you act around me and make me feature your channel. I don't want to channel these at all. Absolutely not. But what I did want was him to actually realize what was going on and to just leave me alone, quite frankly.
You're not over there.
And I asked him, why do you have to act this way? Because he was like, oh, I don't have that many friends and blah, blah. It's like, why do you act like this on people? It's like, well, sometimes I get lonely. It's like, well, if you get lonely, then actually take interest in, other people's stuff. That was part of why we were in this mess in the first place, because he refused to take interest if he wasn't the focus. It was like, oh, do you think I'm an idiot? Like, so-and-so says, I can't remember who said it, but someone said he was an idiot or something. It's like, oh, do you think I'm an idiot? It's like, I don't think you're an idiot, Jax. I think you're a narcissist. Which is way worse. So then I tell him, if you want to actually do this properly, then just, actually think about why you've decided that it's all about you. And then afterwards he just goes, well, that's it. I've unfriended you, and that's the end of that. And I, of course, to bookend everything, I just don't reply. And that was the last contact that I had with Jax Penwell. But this stuff keeps getting brought up. And the reason it keeps getting brought up is because before that last event, like after I said I'm not going back to his channel, he then came in and tried to confront me while I was streaming again, which was also a scummy thing to do. You know, go immediately to try and draw the public. But of course, what you did, Jax, was you drew my public. So what did you expect was going to happen? You know, they were going to listen to me. They were going to see, from my point of view, what happened. And because you're so bad at explaining yourself, they were going to take my side. Because it's logical. And in fact, they've seen a lot of that stuff go down. So you're not fooling anyone. I don't know why I'm talking to him, because he then declared he unsubscribed from me afterwards, as if that was the ultimate hurt that he could possibly do. Now here's the thing, I have for quite a while stopped caring about the number of subscribers that I have, because I've been focusing for the past half a year on watch hours. Don't get me wrong, I appreciate the number of subscribers, but it's now that I've achieved the 1,000, which was, you know, the big goal that I had all these years, then that was that mission successful. And I just wanted to keep those people around, subscribed, and entertained. And yeah, that's what's been happening, and it's been great. But either way, even if that were the case, quite honestly, I don't want people like Jax subscribed to my channel. I don't want people who, whenever I do something nice for them, they expect it to just keep happening, and they just decide to, okay, you know, it's all about me now. Let's just get it for me. And you know, and he would also complain whenever I feature other people, like, oh, you have so many you know, stuff to do with like Pops content, because he knew that the more Pop stuff I had, the less I talk about like the Giants things, the less I get around to doing his stuff. Like, I know why he was complaining about the Pops things. It was very obvious. So, considering all of that, everyone is better off without him around my channel. He doesn't need to stop doing his content. He can do as many videos as he wants at this point. I have stopped caring. Because, as I have explained to him, he blew his last chance. I will never feature another Jax Penwell video on my channel ever again. And that's that. It doesn't matter what he does now. It doesn't matter what kind of excuse he comes up trying to beg me for my forgiveness for the millionth time. That's it. I'm done. There's only so many times that I can actually be pushed around like that. And he's reached that limit. So yeah, in case anyone's wondering what happened with Jax Penwell, that was that. So I had to extend the video so much. I might put a timestamp in case people want to know, because, again, everyone asks me in every stream, like, oh, have you talked to Jax yet? Or has Jax talked to you? Or some people will say, oh, Jax recently spoke to me. It's like, I don't care. I don't care if Jax speaks to other people. I mean, quite honestly, I've been badmouthed in the past by some people when I had, like, the falling out with Jay, the artist formerly known as Asib. I noticed that he actually, at one point on his Instagram, said that he thought that I was going to go after him or something like that. So please stay away from me. Which, first of all, why say that on Instagram? Because, you know, I don't use Instagram that often. So who are you talking to? None of my fan base was on there. So that was already a bad idea. But also, the falling out was just involving, like, you know, the fact that I was getting really annoyed about how unprofessional he was and Natasha was during the recording sessions, which then resulted in Jay pulling both of them out without even consulting Natasha first. And that was a whole other issue. But yeah, I had an experience with someone doing that in the past, and it was just as effective then as it was now. The Mutant Girl is better than ever now. And that event, the falling out, led to the re-audition of those 5 characters in which I met Monet. So, well, and of course, you know, several other people during the auditions process. I'm not gonna be like, oh, I don't meet anyone else. But I mean, just in general. I think I know why I mentioned Monet specifically. So yeah, if anything, I benefited from that distance. And Jax can say whatever he wants in private right now. It's not going to affect me. Even if he makes a public video at this point, honestly, I don't think it will do much at all. Maddie's Gacha also tried to do that, and it only resulted in every video that she posted making herself look even worse, which is exactly how that went down. So, yeah, people, if you're gonna try and, you know, hurt me, try harder. It's pathetic. So yeah, Jax, do whatever you want. You know, if I don't ever hear from you again, it'll be too soon, possibly. Unless you actually reflect on what you've done, realize what it is, retain that information, and actually repent on your actions. Only then will I consider being your friend ever again. So yeah, to everyone else, please leave a like or dislike because your opinion matters. And subscribe if you've done so already, even though I just said I didn't care about the number, but it's still nice to get that. That's basically, you know what, retain the watch hours, keep the watch hours up. That's the real important thing. I can see later this video is most likely to happen. So there you go. Hopefully next week will be a little bit better, and I'll see you once I've turned 23. So on that note, until next time, farewell.